Lestrade and Monsieur Fouquet. He wanted to be with his family for the last few... savaged by a breeding bull in Ayrshire. Terrible business.
I have an appointment with Mr. Wineglass. My name is Halliday. Thank you. I do hope I'm not too early.
I'm worried about Mr. Halliday, our Gunnersbury branch manager.
I've had a report in from our security people. Apparently his outgoings are far in excess of his income.
What are the figures?
Salary approximately 800.
And he's living at the rate of 5,000 a year, Mr. Lamb.
Good investments, possibly?
No investments, unfortunately, Mr. Clackett.
Maybe he's sparing? He would have to be a miser with those figures.
As you say, Mr. Squires, worrying.
Always a pleasure to do business with the Dyer's Bank, Wineglass. I'm sorry about the drink. Some other time, perhaps.
What to do? Mustn't jump to hasty conclusions. Could prove embarrassing.
Caution is the byword.
Squires here. Ah, Mr. Wineglass, how very pleasant. What? 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 Thank you for contacting me so promptly. Gentlemen, we don't have to speculate any further.
They arrived at the Gunnersbury branch to find the vaults bare, looted. Only a few dilapidated bundles of 10-shilling notes due for destruction were left.
What about Halliday? Have they got him?
Well, the authorities were instantly alerted. Axford Airport reported that he arrived at mid-afternoon, seemingly with the intention of using a small aeroplane which he keeps there.
Do you mean to tell me that he got away?
Well, fortunately, it was discovered that the aircraft had been sabotaged.
Sabotaged?
Wings slashed, controls tampered with. Enough damage to make the machine inoperative.
But what about Halliday, Reader?
Vanished.
With 72,000? This is monstrous. It's quite the worst case yet.
I'm very much afraid, Sir Jason, that a considerably larger sum is involved.
What?
Well, now that the necessary investigations and clearinghouse checks have been implemented, it has become apparent that Halliday was responsible for the investment of over $250,000.
$250,000?
With respect, sir. It follows that with an ingenious man like Halliday, with his esoteric knowledge of the English banking system, would not be satisfied with a single act of theft.
Don't sit there expounding your theories at me, Reader. You're supposed to be the bank fraud expert, aren't you? Get after Halliday.
Yes, Sir Jason.
The police appear baffled.
Perplexed. We must confess to have almost reached the point when we didn't expect to see Halliday.
All our money again.
But I must say it is most reassuring to have such an eminent authority on bank crime helping out, as it were.
Yeah.
Mr. Reader. Mr. Reader. Oh.
It is an exact replica of the Tyndale, Oldham, Manchester and South Devon cases. There is irrefutable evidence here, gentlemen, I'm sorry to say, of a system.
You mean an organized criminal effort?
A conspiracy?
Mr. Lamb, please.
Alarmist statements like that can only lead to consternation.
Mr. Lamb is not being alarmist, gentlemen. Let us face the facts. In each case, a high official of a bank has, under some pretext, converted large sums of English currency into francs or dollars. And each in turn has vanished when the discovery of his defalcations has been made.
True. Fact.
Most alarming.
Are there not such things as crimes of imitation, Mr. Reader?
Most certainly, Mr. Lamb. All too common. But in this case, not applicable. No particulars of any one crime were published. No information was available to other bank personnel, and yet the crimes have followed along exactly similar lines. 1. Top banking officials who, for a variety of reasons, gambling, investment speculation, other more private extravagances, have found themselves in straitened circumstances. 2. A precisely organized plan to draw the maximum sum from headquarters. 3. The conversion into foreign currency. And 4. The complete disappearance of the culprit within 24 hours.
A most unusual system of fraud.
Not involving any form of false bookkeeping. And in several cases, petty fraud, as opposed to the much more significant offence.
Has been going on for some time, and has obviously been the cause of the greater crime.
Gentlemen, I must state unequivocally that in my view we are face to face with a criminally active group in London who have developed a very brilliant system of robbing banking houses on a grand scale.
We are in your hands, Mr. Reader.
If we can assist in any way, anywhere.
What is your plan?
Well, if I could discover a potential victim and possibly enlist his cooperation.
Reigate.
Hardly the moment for geographical perambulation, Mr. Lamb.
No, Mr. Squires. Mr. Reigate, assistant branch manager at Hampstead. Now, his problems seem to fit Mr. Reader's requirements. Now, I may be quite wrong, but he might turn out to be... what was it you called it, Mr. Reader?
A potential victim.
How very eloquent. A potential victim. Yes, why not?
Please continue, Mr. Lamb.
But his immediate superior found certain irregularities in the books. When Reigate was confronted, he behaved very indecorously for an assistant branch manager.
Ran from the bank, pursued by the manager. Leapt on the back of a passing ambulance.
I beg your pardon.
An ambulance just happened to be passing.
How very opportune.
But a policeman
Who had joined in the pursuit,
dragged him off.
and he's been charged and is waiting to be remanded.
Well, a short trip to Hampstead to see Reigate was seen to be in order, gentlemen.
Oh, very droll, Mr. Reader.
Droll, sir?
A trip to Hampstead to see Reigate.
I'm afraid that humour is not usually my forte, gentlemen. Currency exchange, Mr. Reigate. Your particular responsibility at the bank?
Well, I don't understand.
I made certain inquiries in the city.
Inquiries?
The Bank of Vancouver. On November the 7th, you apparently made certain overtures concerning the exchange of sterling for Canadian dollars.
A client, on a client's
Client's name,
instructions.
please.
What?
The name of the client who so instructed you. I should like to contact them.
Well, I can't. It was...
Yes?
I can't recall.
And your second inquiry at the 9th Avenue Bank on November the 18th? Escaped your recollection also? Well, surely you must remember the amounts discussed were very impressive.
I cannot see the relevance of your inquiry, sir.
Well, then allow me to elucidate. There is, we are now certain, an organization in London that is perpetrating bank frauds. Now, the pawns in this game are unfortunate gentlemen like yourself, Mr. Reigate. I use the word pawn advisedly. A victim might be more appropriate.
This is preposterous.
Perverse and foolish it certainly is, Mr. Reigate, but not in the way that you mean. The organization offers a service to the misguided men who commit these frauds. Asylum after the act, and a facility for getting out of the country without detection.
How on earth did you...
It may sound somewhat paradoxical, Mr. Reigate, but I have a criminal mind. I merely taken the few flimsy facts that were available and projected them into a feasible operation. I suspect that you, Mr. Reigate, were involved in such a venture.
No, I merely...
Embezzled £400 in order to save certain real estate speculation that had, shall we say, floundered on the crawl rocks of hard finance?
I know nothing. Nothing of this other affair. I swear.
I can help you. I want to help you.
Please leave me alone.
What are you so frightened of?
Nothing. I know nothing.
Please, Mr. Reader.
I have an appointment to see your sister after luncheon.
Jean? Oh, no, you can't. She has nothing to do... You mustn't, you hear me? Leave my sister alone.
I was expecting something to happen.
Let me say straight away, Miss Raggett, that I shall do everything within my somewhat limited power to help your brother.
You're very kind. But John hasn't been himself. Terribly worried about his investments, but I thought he got over the really bad period.
How do you mean?
He returned some money I loaned him, £100. In fact, he paid me almost double, $800.
Dollars? He paid you in dollar bills?
Yes.
Well, where did he get them?
I've no idea. He had quite a lot of money in dollars. It didn't seem odd at the time, but now...
Retrospect always seems to lend a certain perspective. Did you meet any of his business colleagues?
There was one.
Can you remember his name?
I'm sorry, Mr. Reader.
Thank you. What did he look like?
I only saw him once and then very briefly.
Oh, try to remember. It is very important.
He was well-dressed and very well-spoken.
Oh, I see.
I am sorry. I do remember one thing. John wrote a letter to the bank long before he was found out. A sort of statement. In fact, he stayed up all of one night. And then he must have changed his mind. Because next morning at breakfast, he took it out of his pocket and read through it. And then he put it on the fire.
You didn't happen to see any part of it? Oh, well, quite by chance, of course.
No.
What a pity.
There's one other thing, Mr. Reader.
Yes, Miss Raggett?
John knew about you.
About me?
He told me you were quite famous in banking circles.
Oh, dear me.
He once told me he'd thought of approaching you.
We have never met until today.
He knew your private address, Brockley Road. In fact, one night he went round to your house. Afterwards, he told me he couldn't pluck up enough courage to ring the bell.
This could be more serious than I first thought.
Mr. Reigate?
Yes?
My name is Measton, from Measton and Cupwick, Newcastle. And this is my secretary, Miss Klinger.
Who are you?
Mr. Measton is acting for Sir George Polkley.
The North Country shipping magnate?
Sir George has instructed me to secure your release.
Pay my bail?
Correct.
Why?
The necessary sureties have been arranged. We have a car waiting.
Shall we go, then?
I don't understand.
Oh, I'm sure it'll all be made quite clear to you.
Oh, my God, you!
You have become an embarrassment, Mr. Reigate. We must remove you from this fair isle at the first possible opportunity. Drive on.
Don't bother me now.
Yes, Miss Stripling?
Oh, Sir Jason said he couldn't be bothered, Mr. Reader.
Bothered about what?
From Scotland Yard. They said it was important. I told Sir Jason, but I don't think he heard me.
Well, you must speak up, Miss Stripling. Sir Jason likes clear diction, as you might have gathered. Morris Redsack.
Yes, he escaped from a place called Sing Sing in America about 4 months ago. He's a terrible man, done the most awful things. They think he might be here, Mr. Reader. Here. Isn't it exciting?
You have read this, Miss Stripling?
Only once.
Reader!
Yes, Sir Jason?
Scotland Yard have been in recent communication, Reader.
Have they found Halliday?
On the contrary, They have lost Reigate.
Oh, dear, that rather complicates the issue.
She was bailed out this afternoon by a solicitor named Measton.
Of Measton and Copwick, Sir George Portley's legal advisors.
The only complication, reader, is that the man was an imposter. The Yard have had a wire from MMM&C. Sir George is resting in the south of France, and they have never heard of Reigate.
Fly away, Peter. Fly away, Paul.
Are you thinking of flying somewhere, reader? Or do you always wear half a coat?
Sorry.
Well, reader, and how does your criminal mind interpret this?
Rather badly, I'm afraid. To put it mildly, I fear for the good health of Mr. Reigate.
Some good beef custard, Mr. Reader.
Oh, you're too kind, Mrs. Houchin.
Well, don't let it get cool, Mr. Reader.
Very nutritious.
What's ailing you, Mr. Reader?
Oh, just a slight twinge.
A twinge, you say? It's that fickle chest of yours, isn't it? They could use your lungs as a barometer. The first sign of rain. Motor cars. Nasty, oily, smelly, noisy monsters.
That was no motor car backfiring, Mrs. Houchin.
What else, Mr. Reader?
A pistol. Luger automatic by the sound of it.
Mighty me. Mercy on us!
He's still alive. Just.
Oh, quickly, Mr. Reader. We must get him inside. Whatever will the neighbours think? Oh. That'll need to be scrubbed before morning.
Mr. Reader? Yes?
Red.
You knew him, Mr. Reader?
I was talking to his sister this afternoon. Strange. Very odd. Can you smell anything unusual, Mrs. Houchin?
Mothballs.
More explicitly, camphor. Come in.
Mr. J.G. Reader?
Yes?
Oh, good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Jansen, Dr. Carl Jansen.
From the Netherlands.
Oh, very perceptive of you. Holland is my home, but I've been in England for 2 years now. May I sit, please?
Oh, forgive my discourtesy.
I am in a very, as you say here, peculiar position. It has been in my mind to see you, Mr. Reader.
In what context, Dr. Jansen?
I have read in the newspapers about the banker, Mr. Halliday.
Ah, yes, Mr. Halliday.
Well, I'm going to the police, but they refer me to yourself.
I see.
Well, now, I'm conducting a clinic for diseases of the heart. Mr. Halliday was being one of my patients.
Halliday? Heart trouble?
Oh, no, nothing serious.
Well, please continue.
I am a generous man, Mr. Reader. Mr. Halliday, he seems to be an honest man. He asked me for a loan, a temporary loan, £1,000. I give. I lend. I do not think it necessary to seek any security, but now he is into trouble and has run away abroad.
Abroad? How do you know, Dr. Jansen?
This arrived yesterday.
Germany? May I?
No, but of course.
Dear Doctor, I must know the prescription for my heart condition. I cannot give you my address. Will you please advertise it in the agony column of the Times? Signed H. May I keep this?
Oh, of course. I want to assist. I may get my money returned. The prescription I will advertise because it is humanity. And now I must go. I have much work.
Thank you for being so public-spirited. We will, of course, contact you in the event of any new light shed on Mr. Halliday's disappearance.
My card.
Oh, thank you.
Most kind. Good day, Mr. Reader.
Good day, Dr. Jansen. Good day, Dr. Jansen. Come in.
There's somebody waiting to see you, Mr. Reader.
Who would it be, Miss Clipway?
Miss Reigate, Mr. Reader.
Show her in at once, please.
Miss,
Reigate.
Reigate, Mr. Reader.
Dear Miss Reigate, you should be at home resting.
I can't, Mr. Reader. I simply can't.
Oh, do sit down. You look pale. A cup of tea?
Oh, no, thank you. I've been going through John's papers, and I found this.
Confidential loans. Professional men who are in distress, in urgent need of funds, please contact the Brothers of Benevolence, 297 Lincoln's Inn Fields. We offer help without usury, repayments spread over years. Our security is our faith in you.
Well, the man, the night he came to see John, gave him that cutting. I was making some coffee and I overheard them talking about it.
How long ago was this, Miss Reigate?
About a month. Yes, it was a month, just after my birthday.
Well, I'm most grateful to you. This must be investigated at once. Oh, Miss Reigate, I wonder if I could impose on you a little further.
Oh, anything, Mr. Reader.
It's a little indelicate, but would you care to identify the aroma of this letter?
Mothballs, Mr. Reader.
Precisely, Miss Reigate. Mothballs.
What do you want? Huh?
I have come to inquire about the Brotherhood.
You're right.
No, well,
you must...
Excuse me. Thank you. Thank you.
You're right. No colors. We don't do these with colors, please. You must go out. You're right. Go out immediately. Please. Go. What are you doing here? What are you looking for?
Where do they keep their vast wealth?
You must write, you hear?
Whom have I the pleasure of addressing?
Huh?
Your name?
Jones.
Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones, you do a lot of writing.
Oh, correspondence. We never see people. We are agents only.
For the Brotherhood?
They are in France.
France?
The South, yeah. They do not want to wish their good deeds to be publicized.
How very altruistic and self-effacing.
Huh?
Kind and modest.
All letters are answered secretly.
They are very rich.
Oh, very rich, yes.
How long have they been
all I can tell you, mister, is to go.
Go.
Now. Emile, come, go.
Yes,
go.
Go. Good day, Mr. Jones.
You're right.
Miss Reigate?
Yes?
My name's Jane Sedgwick. This is Mr. Harvey Pringle. We were business associates of your late dear brother. May we come in?
Oh, please. I was just listening to the wireless to try and relax.
Under the lift attendant's uniform, he was wearing a suit of flannelette pajamas, similar in colour and texture to that worn by the unfortunate Reigate.
What about witnesses, Reader? Did no one notice anything unusual? This bizarre figure in a farmyard?
The labourer working in a nearby field saw a motorcyclist, and there are the tracks in the mud of the yard.
Oh.
One would think that Hallett's associates certainly knew of his plan to, if I may use the underworld vernacular, to double-cross them.
How do you arrive at that abstract conclusion, Reader?
The aeroplane, Sir Jason. The sabotaged aeroplane. That was their precaution. Hallett had to go their way or not at all. But even though he'd been outmaneuvered once, he had a second, an emergency plan. He was undoubtedly on his way to Harwich when they fell upon him.
How can you possibly say that?
I had an idea it might happen. There isn't a cloakroom or baggage office at any air or seaport in the country that the police haven't searched, on my instructions. Mr. Halliday's cases had been in my safekeeping for the past 5 days. They were discovered at Harwich.
You have a devious mind, Reader.
Sir Jason, I wonder if I could draw on your unparalleled knowledge of London society.
Fire away, Reader.
Thank you. What do you know of the Strangers' Club?
Used to be the Banbury Club, the hunting crowd, you know. Didn't pay. Then a foreign chap bought it. Oh, it's very exclusive. Offers total privacy to all members. Members never meet but have a private room each. The Strangers' Club, you say?
Yes, sir. But this foreign gentleman, would it be a Dr. Carl Jansen?
Oh, Lord, no, Reader. Although it's true he does lecture there every week, he's a good chap, Jansen. A gentleman.
You know him, Sir Jason?
Naturally. Well, that is to say, I have met the doctor socially. Why do you ask?
Just checking, Sir Jason.
Yes, he is here. It is for you, Reader.
Thank you. Reader. Oh, yes, Miss Reigate. Are you all right? Yes, of course. I'll come over straight away.
Spreading your wings, Reader.
Will you excuse me, Sir Jason?
And on your way out, ask Miss Clipwing to step in. Little fella.
Sir Jason would like to see you, Miss Clipwing.
Yes, at once, Mr. Reader. Are you leaving the office?
Yes?
Have you any idea what it is Sir Jason might want?
He said to bring your pencil sharpener.
Come in.
You let these two in, and then?
And then the man...
the one who called himself Pringle, you say?
Yes, he took hold of me from behind.
The blackguard.
And the woman rolled up the sleeve of my blouse. And all I can remember was a sharp pain in my arm. When I came to, I was sitting here, the curtains were drawn, and my head was swimming.
And a strange taste in your mouth?
Oh, yes. It's like toffee apples.
A fitting description.
I tried to get to the telephone, but my legs were just like paper. It took me almost an hour.
Did you telephone the police?
No. The first person I thought of was you, Mr. Reader.
3 separate punctures. Was this man, Pringle, smoking a cigar when you opened the door?
No.
Well, I don't think they had any intention to hurt you. I'm afraid I was, Miss Reigate, in an indirect way, responsible for this appalling impertinence. I'm so sorry.
You, Mr. Reader? But how? Why?
They injected you with scopolamine. A more common term for it is the truth drug. It removes certain inhibitions. The questions they asked you were, I imagine, about myself. How much you told me, how much I know. And I'm afraid you probably told them much more than is good for me.
But who are they?
2 of them I know. The third and most dangerous I soon will know.
What are you going to do, Mr. Reader?
Firstly, obtain a doctor for yourself. And then, using a familiar axiom of the criminal classes, do it to them before they do it to me. I think we can safely ascertain, gentlemen, that the bird has flown. Judging by these empty bottles, will continue to fly for all the remainder of his years.
You might cause me considerable embarrassment breaking into that office.
But the facts, Sir Jason.
Facts? What facts? All surmise, Reader.
But it all fits, Sir Jason, if you would only allow me to explain.
I have been doing my homework too, Reader. I instigated a thorough check on the Benevolent Brotherhood, and I may tell you they come most highly recommended. Indeed, highly praised by several most eminent ecclesiastical authorities, including the Bishop of Lambeth, no less.
Indeed, sir.
The Commissioner has been in touch. He is, to say the least, unenthusiastic about your behaviour in this matter.
But the office was deserted and the evidence burnt.
Evidence, my top hats! The Commissioner suggests, and I may say that I endorse his theory, that Mr. Jones has found more suitable premises from which to conduct the Society's very commendable enterprise.
Yes, sir.
I am quite convinced, reader, that the Brotherhood is beyond reproof, and that in this instance your confounded criminal mind has led you astray.
Very well, sir.
I am instructing you to limit your investigation to the pertinent areas of tangible facts. Do I make myself clear?
Quite clear, Sir Jason.
Good.
Mr. Reader, do I take it that you intend going out again?
You do, Mrs. Houghton.
Will you be late?
That depends on circumstances beyond my control.
It's most disagreeable out tonight. It looks like rain, or even worse, snow.
Yes, there is a nip in the air.
Just a moment, Mr. Reader. I have a surprise for you.
Oh, the evening meal was most filling, Mrs. Houghton. I couldn't manage another morsel.
It's not food, Mr. Reader.
Not food?
Just a moment. I was keeping it for your Christmas. I got the wool sent down from Forsyth's of Edinburgh.
Oh, that's quite. Quite.
Aye. Now then, that will keep the winter at bay. Protect that fickle chest of yours.
Oh,
there.
You're very kind. Very kind.
You don't think he'll come?
He'd be a fool to.
Oh, no, Max. Whatever Reader is, he is not a fool.
And what makes you so sure he's just going to come waltzing in here?
Intuition, my dear Max. Creative intuition. Something that I'm sad to say you lack.
You think he knows about us?
I'm sure he knows enough.
Then he must know that if he so much as pokes the end of his long nose round the door, it's going to be blown off.
$10:30.
Why tonight? Why not tomorrow or next week?
Reader will have reached his conclusions. He's not the man to hang about.
You've got it all worked out, haven't you, Morris? But how can you be so sure?
Empathy, my dear Max. I use Reader's own technique. I put myself in his position. He thinks like me and I like him. It is inevitable that we meet.
Him and half of Scotland Yard.
Oh, poor Lena, a natural pessimist. No, he'll be alone. That is the way he operates.
Well, I only hope you're right, Morris.
I nearly always am, Max.
We could wrap up the operation and be on the continent in the morning.
I can see that Mr. Reader is causing you some anxiety, Max.
Max is right.
With Rita disposed of, there is no reason why we should not pursue our little venture to its logical conclusion. Oh, no, this is too good to let one man, even Rita, spoil it.
He must have passed what he knows about us on to his superior.
No, Max, there you are wrong. Rita's one vulnerability is his sense of the dramatic. He enjoys keeping his theories secret until he has acted. A weakness, perhaps, but that is his method. Ah, our visitor. Lena, would you go and show him in? And Max, invisible but available.
Mr. Reader, sir.
Ah, Mr. Reader, I'm most pleased to meet again.
How do you do?
My little inner sanctum.
Very, comfortable.
It suffices. What do you drink, Mr. Reader?
Milk.
Why, yes. We can even give you that. A glass of milk for Mr. Reader. Have you brought news of Mr. Halliday?
He was found shot dead in a water trough in Essex.
But how terrible. Murdered. Have you any idea who could have done such a thing?
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Will you please sit, Mr. Reader?
Oh, thank you. I've come to see you about some information that has come my way, which suggests that this club is associated with a malevolent society run by a man called Jones.
Well, how strange. I know this Jones. And the society, Mr. Reader, it is quite genuine.
So I've been assured.
Yes. Some people get a lot of money out of those strange gentlemen in France.
The whole thing arose out of our investigations concerning an unfortunate young man called Reigate. He, too, was shot dead. On my doorstep, as a matter of fact.
Oh, my goodness me, but how distressing.
After his death, we found an advertisement for the society among his papers.
Oh, well, I'm afraid I cannot help you. My knowledge is restricted to, as you might say, matters of the heart.
Can I ask a favor, Dr. Jansen?
Oh, by all means.
Would you show me around the club about which I've heard so much?
That, I'm afraid, is impossible. The rules of the establishment, you understand. The privacy of members forbids it.
Of whom there are how many?
603.
Surely they are mainly honorary members who are only admitted to the ground floor for your lectures. I've yet to have the satisfaction of seeing a list of your private members.
Well, then, if you must. Come along.
You fool, Max! It's you, Mr. Fool. I warned you it was us in the trouble.
Please, gentlemen, a little decorum.
Give it to him now.
Oh, but that would be most ungentlemanly. No, I want to savor the moment of Mr. Reader's demise. You did very well, my dear. You helped me get him into a chair.
Hello? Hello, my name is Miss Jean Reigate. May I speak to Sir Jason Toolby, please? Yes. Yes, it's very important. I have an urgent message from Mr. Reader. Yes, Mr. Reader.
Oh. Do you know who I am, Mr. Reader?
Morris Redsack. Brilliant criminal mind who specializes in fraud and murder for gain. You plagued the continent for 5 years and you moved your operations to the United States, but somehow you didn't fit there.
I was betrayed.
Got life for murder?
They were optimistic.
And the next month you were sprung from Sing Sing.
Oh, that lies whole.
One of the most audacious rescues in penal history. By balloon, was it not?
Oh, you read about it?
I met the real Dr. Jansen in an attic room in Lincoln's Inn Fields. A very unpleasant old man.
I thought Jansen might be as good a name for me as for him, and he didn't care. I found him sleeping on the Thames embankment. But how did you know?
He was once a brilliant scientist. Even as a drunkard, he couldn't let his past glory completely slip by.
Damned schoolboy's chemistry set.
And the manuscript in Greek. When did you start the nursing home for infectious diseases?
He knows everything.
I wasn't sure whether you knew about that. How? Again?
Hallitay's letter, Reigert's nightclothes, camphorlatacine, a very powerful antiseptic used in cases of infectious diseases.
And who in his right mind would enter a room marked infectious diseases?
An ideal hiding place.
Precisely.
Hide them for a month or so, then smuggle them aboard as stretcher patients.
To live out the rest of their lives as rich men. I was very fair. We went 50-50 on the money.
Very ingenious, Mr. Redsack.
Let's get this over with. Get him out of the way.
Yeah, I'm enjoying Mr. Reader's company, Max.
How did you arrange the Benevolent Brothers?
Oh, they already existed, and we're only too delighted to have an agent in England. The letters poured in. We simply took our pick of the fools.
Halliday tried to deceive you?
Misguidedly.
Fatally.
Poor Reigert?
He got religious, conscience-stricken.
He was dealt with, naturally.
Max used to race motorcycles.
How very brave of him.
He's making me angry, Boris.
Well, calm yourself, Max. Not long now. Death, Mr. Reader, in our game is the natural and proper sequel to failure.
May I ask whether you plan to let the matter end in this interesting and complicated building, or have you a more spectacular method in mind?
As our crass American counterparts would put it, we are going to take you for a ride. But to prove that there's no malice, is there any particular place you would prefer?
Well, naturally, I should prefer Brockley. But I realize that that highly populated suburb would not be suitable for your purposes. So may I suggest respectfully that one of the arterial roads out of London would suit us both admirably.
Let's go. What the hell?
What's reason?
Your hands. Higher, please.
You're a formidable opponent, Mr. Reader. I take it that blackout was planned and not merely fortuitous.
A little of both, Mr. Redsack.
Reader! Reader!
Sir Jason.
Where the devil is the fellow? Reader!
In here, Sir Jason.
Yeah. Oh, Reader, you'll be the death of me.
I'm afraid Miss Reigert must have slightly misunderstood. I didn't intend you to come personally, Sir Jason.
Yeah. What on earth do you think you're doing? This gentleman is...
May I present Mr. Redsack?
Redsack? The Redsack?
Sir Jason.
Take them! You do put those things down, Reader, before you hurt someone. Well, I am waiting, Reader.
Waiting, sir?
For your undoubtedly unbelievable explanation of this pantomime.
Well, Sir Jason, it all began with mothballs.
Mothballs, Reader?
Mothballs, Sir Jason.